Hi, Tower City residents, and welcome to the beach, our unproduced paradise where we'll be looking at unmade movie scripts and stories. Here, exclusively, and I have with us my co-king of Tower City, Shane. Hi, how are you
Hey,
doing?
good. How's it going?
Good. That was almost sounded like I knew what I was talking about. And
Sound pretty
almost,
good for the first time.
I know, and I didn't even have a script.
All right. What are we going to be talking about today?
Fantastic question. So the biggest controversy lately in movies is what? Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Either love
oh,
it or you hate it.
I mean, it always is. But the last movie came out, Rise of Skywalker, the best Star Wars movie ever.
Uh, eh.
Yes, so already have a different opinion on it, which is good.
Well,
It's fine.
and honestly, we were going to wait and see if the script came out about it. Instead of just the outline, we were going to wait and see if this Duel of the Fates script came out before we ended up doing this. But it doesn't look like it's going to be coming out.
At,
So,
yeah, at least not anytime soon. If it comes out, later and it's substantial enough and has enough like details, because I have a full outline of what we have, an outline of the outline. That's total Inception nonsense. But I have lots of questions that I'm assuming, no, you would have an answer if you read it, but I don't have an answer. So I'm like, and I think this is why this happens, but I don't actually know.
And I'm actually surprised because, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos regarding this, and everyone pretty much has said, as far as where the source is coming from, that there's scripts out there, but I'm surprised that they haven't leaked online yet, especially with it being, so long after this outline was leaked to everybody.
Yeah, or at least like in places that we know to look.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's some like dark web stuff that we just don't go onto and we'll never know to even look at.
Everything's on there.
Yeah, you've got Duel of the Fates script, you've got George Lucas's Episode 7, and you've got Hitman all in one place. It's so efficient.
Oh, of course. I wonder how much the cost would be on a script like this.
Uh, well, I think you could probably hire a hitman to kill J.J. Abrams faster, and that was a terrible joke. I'm sorry. That
Ooh,
immediately is not okay.
ooh. I'll have to go through and cut that.
Yeah, no, please do. So that was terrible. This is what happens when I talk off the cuff. So, we got both of our kind of opinions out of the way for nine. Do you want to go a little
Well,
more?
yeah,
Yeah.
we can talk about nine real quick. Since it is coming out, I believe on digital, it's coming out the week of the 17th. So I think it's about 2 weeks away. So I mean, but no better time really to get into this than now, I guess. And, it's been a couple months since the outline was originally released, but with the upcoming release of it on digital, kind of get us prepared for watching it again. Because I've seen it twice since it was out in theaters. The first time, I uh, there were parts that I really liked about it,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, I was pretty disappointed by it. And I guess a lot of that could come off of the extremely controversial Last Jedi, which I was on the side of really enjoying it. And this movie it picks up a lot of things that Last Jedi set up, but it's very much more of a sequel to Force Awakens than it is a sequel to Last Jedi in certain ways. And I like Force Awakens, but I like Last Jedi more, and there's a clear disconnect there that didn't work for me going into the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I think so. What's really weird is that I agree and I really like The Last Jedi as well. I think it's really good. And
And
so, yeah,
I might like it more on rewatch, especially since there's been a lot of time since I've seen it last. But we'll probably have to end up doing something on that whenever it comes out and I get a chance to rewatch it.
because I mean, I like it a lot, and it also comes from the fact that you are way more of a Star Wars fan than I am, like a lot more. So I think all of them are basically fine, except for Rogue One, which is the best, bar none.
That one, yeah. So Empire is my favorite, which, most people, that one's usually pretty close to the top. But Rogue One has always been my second favorite, sometimes third, depending on where I put Last Jedi, but those would be my top three easy.
So, yeah, so going into Rise of Skywalker, I was more just, I don't know, I was more kind of worried that they were going to totally ruin it, and some people, they did totally ruin it for them. And they're like, it's dead, you can't do anything after this. I'm like, well, I was latching on to different stuff, which I did an entire, you know, editorial about why I think it's good, essentially,
hmm
which is just all of the race stuff, which is all I care about, really. At the end of the day, is just Ray and Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, she's great, and Adam Driver has been my favorite as Kylo Ren, has been my favorite actor and character of the new trilogy, easy. And I don't entirely hate Episode 9 with what we got, but there was a lot they could have done with the character that I felt would have done him more justice than what we ended up getting, because I felt
And
like he was easily the best part of Last Jedi, along with Daisy Ridley.
and I think that is actually a really good transition because what they kind of cut out and don't show in Rise of Skywalker is all in Duel of the Fates, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
Everything that I wanted them to do with the character coming off The Last Jedi, they pretty much hit the nail on the head in the original script.
so this was originally done by Colin Trevorrow, who did the Jurassic World movie, the first one at least.
And he did a small movie called The Book of Henry. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was kind of mixed. I actually saw it and I liked it, but it wasn't as strong as what he could have done, I think, coming off Jurassic World.
Yeah, that one I think I saw as like a more of a pet project thing from him, but I actually saw him first with his first film, Safety Not Guaranteed, which is, I mean, it's been a lot of time. It's been, what year did it come out? It's been 2012 when it came out, so
It's been a
almost
little bit.
almost a decade. It's been 8 years. Oh, side note, this can all stay in. I'm on his Wikipedia,
hmm
and it says Colin T. Trevorrow rhymes with tomorrow. So it's Trevorrow.
Yep. I
That's really
was
random.
yeah, I've heard it said different ways, but I mean, it could go either way, I guess.
Anyway, no, I just saw that and I thought that was really weird they had to specify that.
And on
Anyway,
another side note, he's also doing the next Jurassic World, which was an interesting switch coming off of the last movie, but we won't get into that too much. It's
yeah,
just good to see that he's getting back into the big blockbusters again.
I did not see Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at all.
It's a very different movie.
I heard that and I was like, I'm sure it's fine. Again, I also don't care about Jurassic Park all that much either. So I
Yeah.
was like, I liked Jurassic World, but that was also not what we're talking about.
So getting into this, I guess, first draft that was released. So all of this was, I don't want to say spoiled, but released or revealed to us by a YouTuber named Robert Meyer Burnett. He went on to do, I think, several videos regarding all this information. He won't entirely say whether he has a script or how he got about getting this information, but he did reveal as much information of what the script was actually about originally that he was able to. Um, he made it clear that the draft is from December 16th, 2016, so that was almost a whole year before The Last Jedi was released, and it was a week before Carrie Fisher passed.
Which, if there's any like thing that would have absolutely derailed any plans, if they had any, is that.
Yeah, and you could make an argument that I haven't. I mean, I know that there's some people out there that are saying that they've got outlines for the second draft, which was adjusted after her passing. But with this one, you can very much see where the movie could not work at all by changing, her role in it. It wouldn't have had as much of the effect as it has because she's a major part in this movie.
So speaking of that, we get an opening crawl that informs us that since the failed battle at Crate, the salt ice planet,
Hmm.
the ice crystal planet, the First Order has just gone full fascist, right?
Yeah,
And is
they're
cutting off, you know, has made, speaking out a crime and cut communication to isolate people, only giving them totally in charge.
basically they're just going around and killing people for saying anything bad about them.
Yeah, they're actually going, and bring this up later, but they are going like for actual fascist, and we actually get to see what that would look like, because in the
Hmm.
original trilogy, we don't get any of that.
And it's interesting to note that it says in the opening crawl that Supreme Leader Kylo Ren has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. That's a big point because that does play a part in the rest of the script going forward.
Yeah, is it yeah, okay, I wrote systems here. I just didn't say systems.
Hmm.
Okay. But the film actually starts with our heroes, the four main characters, Ray, Finn, Poe, and Rose of all people, blowing up
Who?
in,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I was just gonna point out real quick who in this script
gets more to do.
gets so much to do that is going to make me look at the Rise of Skywalker in a totally different way than I did the first time, but not necessarily in a positive way because she was underutilized and just pretty much forgotten about in the episode 9 that we got.
It's hysterical, but they blow up in orbiting around the Kuat, Kuat. I don't know how you say that.
Kuwat sounds good.
Kuat moon. During the plan, they fail, and a new admiral, Vaughn, who doesn't show up after this, stops them.
If only you could get Vince Vaughn to play him.
That would have been lovely. Uh, who else would have been good? Brian K. Vaughan, if they got that comic book writer. That would have
I think
been
I think those are the only Vaughns I know.
uh yeah. I'm trying to think now. I think
Vince
that's it.
Vaughn's wife, if he's married.
Okay, now that's just cheating. You're just going back to the first name again. But as they board, as they I actually don't know where I was supposed to put the oh, as the band, as the group escapes, Rey reveals her new lightsaber as a two-sided staff, which had to be in the movie. That is the one thing I'm taking from this that just had to be in the movie.
It makes sense, and why it wasn't done in the episode 9 that we got kind of doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand because they kind of hinted at it at the end of the movie with her new lightsaber
Yeah.
by looks, but I don't understand why it wasn't done with all of her training with the staff that she had anyways. If she was going to be making a new lightsaber, she should have made it to the way that would best utilize her abilities,
And which is even funnier. Oh, by the way, she's dressed as a Tusken Raider for some reason. We don't
which,
get told why.
which is pretty cool.
I guess again, that's something I have no opinion on. So I'm like, that's fine. But it is cool. Cool. It's interesting, at least, that in the nine that we get, when she's evil for a minute, when she sees her evil self, she does have the double lightsaber.
Yeah, a very not so cool looking double sided lightsaber personally, with the whole flip kind of pocket knife flipping open effect to it.
There's always lots of jokes about how lightsabers are super impractical and you'll just kill yourself with them. But man, you miss and it goes right into your leg and you're out of a leg.
Yeah,
And you can't even hobble on it because it's not actually a cane. It's just a lightsaber. But regardless of that, the band gets a Star Destroyer and escape but are tailed by the Knights of Ren.
So
And Kyle, yeah,
I thought it was pretty cool that they actually steal the Star Destroyer.
yeah, that's something cool that we don't get to see.
Mm-hmm. Because I mean, it makes sense that they would steal it just so they can have everything that's on it. Although I guess it maybe isn't explained all that well in the outline, but I know that it's a shipyard. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
the ship was completed, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to actually steal it and functional. But I'm surprised that there weren't people on it, like stormtroopers or first order troopers, I guess,
Well,
or anybody else.
we actually get an answer to that later, but Kylo Ren shows up and kills Vaughn, poor Vince Vaughn. Uh, sucks for him. And because he failed. Then we jump to Coruscant, which I will be honest and thought was Mos Eisley the entire time I was writing this and was very confused. And I had to look
No,
up Coruscant. I'm like, oh right.
putting Coruscant in this script and having it this early on in the movie tells me that Trevorrow did not care what people thought of the prequels or the originals or the sequels. He was going to be giving what made sense to the story that he was going to try to tell.
Yeah, I mean
And
it makes
bring
sense going back.
yeah, bringing it back does. I mean, it makes a lot of sense because we never. That was the problem, was we never really got a good look at, um, what the First Order reign on the people were, or even the New Republic, control over these systems was. Like
Yeah,
in
that
Force Awakens, they destroyed those 5 planets, but it was like, oh, okay.
which are conveniently right next to each other, but it's fine. Who cares? They're right next to each other. But yeah, the last time we see it, if you go in chronological order of episodes, is in 6, where they add that scene in at the end,
Yeah.
where Jar Jar Binks goes, "We're free," and I'm like, that's weird.
Uh,
Yeah, I bet you forgot that happened. But come on, load. Okay. Uh, Hux is in control and is a demagogue, not demigod. That is totally different. And is subjugating the people and decapitating any resistance with a lightsaber guillotine.
and he's also the Chancellor, which is the first Chancellor, I believe, that we've seen on screen since Palpatine.
He meets with allies and plans to kill Rey because they found out she is the last Jedi and know that Kylo Ren is on his own mission.
Here is the first part, I guess, of what's in the script that did somewhat make it into the movie. The first part being the traitor and being decapitated by a guillotine. Now we didn't get to see him decapitated in episode 9,
No,
but
I
we
guess not.
but we did see him headless
Yeah.
after the fact.
I wonder if that was something they filmed and then cut.
I think it probably would have been too much, um, or just pointless, I guess, at that point to show the actual scene when they could have just, cut like they did, showing his head right there on the table.
Yeah, it works in this one, I would say, because it's more. I imagine that more as like a panning shot or like a setup shot, just saying, hey, it is messed up out here,
Mm-hmm.
and not actually like a plot point. But Kylo Ren goes to Mustafar, which we haven't seen since the prequels again.
Yeah, and I didn't know until after watching The Rise of Skywalker and reading some different reviews or watching videos about it that planet that he's on in the beginning of the episode 9 that we got is actually Mustafar, but it's a much, I guess, cooled down version of it, where I guess the
As
lava's cooled down or something like that.
I liked it. Well, it looked like just like Japan with, cherry, cherry flowers, cherry blossoms.
Hmm.
Anyway, actually, I lied. So he's haunted by Luke's ghost, which is very
Which is
obvious to do.
that was the I think the biggest mistake they made in JJ's version. I don't see how not having Luke in it more, especially haunting Kylo, which makes perfect sense. I don't understand why that was just kind of left on the cutting room table as far as when the script was going through its process.
Anyway, I lied because he goes to that castle we see in Rogue One, so I guess we do see it after the prequels technically,
Mm, yeah.
which it's good to go back there because that was supposed to be in one of the original trilogy movies and
Hmm.
got cut. And he gets a holocron that informs him that Palpatine had a second mission in case he got killed. Oh wow! I wonder where that will come up again.
Yeah.
Uh, and Vader, it was that Vader would take Luke to see Luke to see Palpatine's Sith Master, I assume, to train him, and then it blows up like it's a Mission Impossible.
So here's another odd thing. Even in this script, I found it odd. Was that it was, like you said, Tor Valum was Palpatine's teacher. Now, I know that the extended novels aren't canon, but one thing that is canon is in episode 3 when Palpatine mentions Darth Plagueis, who we know is his original master.
I assume because of what we're given that he's not really like a Sith Master, but more like just
A dark side teacher.
yeah, like an entity
Yeah,
of the dark side, which we'll
yeah.
explain a lot later. But somehow Leia feels this message explode. The Death Star, the Star Destroyer lands on that planet. I assume it would have just been the planet that we see in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, at the very, or close to the beginning that Rey's training on.
Yeah, we set up that Rey is still kind of connected to Kylo Ren, and that she wants him to change because Finn could change. And also, she got stormtroopers to work for them
I
and be
see that now.
rebels. Yeah, which is fun. That would be fun. Why didn't we get that?
And there's a lot more um, emotional connection between Finn and Rey that kind of felt more real than what we got in Rise of Skywalker. Like I feel like in Rise of Skywalker, Finn was at times trying too hard to try to express his feelings towards her. But in this
Yeah,
case, it's Rey confiding in him and him listening to her that you can really feel the connection work naturally more than him just chasing after her.
yeah, well, I think that works because it's different because, okay, so what do you think he's trying to tell Ray in that scene, in those scenes?
I think two things in the actual movie. One, that he likes her, but two, he wants to tell her that he thinks he's got some kind of force sensitivity. But I think for the most part, it's that he likes her, has feelings for her.
See, I always assumed that was Force stuff for some reason. Uh,
The only the only reason I say that is because in The Force Awakens, he very much shows more of an attraction to her as
that's
far as
true.
feelings go.
That's true. Do you have a boyfriend line sticks out
Yeah.
to me. But no, that never occurred to me. I was like, oh, he's just telling her he is Force sensitive, which is fine, I guess. Uh, Leia notes that they have tons of weapons, but no army to actually use them. Uh, Rey goes to her texts. Good that we bring that back. I mean, that's the only way you could do this, right? And finds a
Yeah.
beacon that was made and used during the Republic days on Coruscant. Anyway, he says that it's the only hope they have left to save everybody, I assume.
Here's an interesting thought. These are supposed to be ancient Jedi texts.
Yeah?
Now, we don't get like a real, you know, answer as to how ancient they are, but would the information on the beacon actually be in them if they were super old? Like it says from the old Republic, but I don't know. Maybe that's
Uh,
just a little odd, I think, to be in there when to me it was more talking about the, like when you say ancient Jedi text, more of teaching of the Jedi way, rather than, oh, by the way, there's a beacon that's on the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, by the way, in case you
Yeah,
ever need that.
I guess it makes. I would actually say in this case, Rise of Skywalker makes a little more sense, where it is
Mhm.
something Force related.
Mhm.
I guess this is also Force related. I would say it makes sense because if we assume Coruscant is like, was always the home of the Jedi,
Mhm.
which they have those books coming out now. Oh, they
Yeah,
have.
I'll actually be interested in reading them because they're something that I feel like they're going to be building off of as far as new shows and new movies going
Yeah.
forward.
So I
So
guess we're seeing that.
yeah,
But
but hey, this script is not bulletproof. As much as I like it, it's not bulletproof. There are just a few things in there that I'm kind of like, I don't know about that.
oh, there's one big thing I'll get to. Rey trains with Ghost Luke. Hey, look at that. Wasn't she doing that from the beginning? Like,
Now,
in Rise of Skywalker, where it's Leia for some reason.
and I love that because not only is he haunting Kylo, he's
Which,
simultaneously teaching Rey at the same time.
yeah, and is also trying to get Kylo to turn back to the good side, and they cut back and forth between that. Kylo is also returning to Coruscant and argues with Hux, while Rey and Luke also argue, which
And
this is one of those times the actual script would be helpful because I want to know what they're actually saying to each other.
in a very small point, I don't know if you got it in your notes, but when the electricity came out of the holocron, it damaged his face,
Oh no, I didn't know that at all.
and so they smelted Mandalorian armor
Oh,
to his face,
I
which
have
is
that somewhere, but I think I assumed that was just what they did with his mask again.
it was because it's not completely covered, but it's partially covered where the damage is from the electricity, which I think is cool because it's kind of showing his more connection with his grandfather, Vader. As he's getting deeper and deeper in there, he's starting to become more machine kind of, or more, or
Yeah, no, that makes
less
sense.
human like.
That makes sense. Luke says to Rey not to go back, but Rey says that she is no one. This is a big thing that keeps coming back and
Mhm.
is important. I would assume even more important in the actual script. But
Yeah, yeah,
this
this is a big thing because I personally don't think that JJ was ever intending on her to be somebody as much as I wanted her, you know, I didn't want her to be a Palpatine. I wanted her more to be a Kenobi in some way. But after watching Force Awakens and then getting into The Last Jedi, I kind of felt more that JJ was really on board with her being nobody. Ryan was very much on board with her being nobody. And then I felt like the backlash of Last Jedi is what changed their decision going into The Rise of Skywalker to make her a Palpatine because even Trevorrow, for the most
doesn't
part,
do
is
that.
going, he's all on board with the whole no one thing. So you can see with what he was doing in this script how the perception after The Last Jedi changed their look at what to do with her as a character. Because they, he went in full on with the whole no one thing. And this was a year before Last Jedi came out.
Yeah, so they wouldn't even know that people wouldn't like that bit.
Yep.
But
So,
Kylo Ren orders them to find the resistance and wipe them out, but save Rey for him. More of the same. Like that's basically what his entire arc has been the past two movies before this one.
hmm
The rebels break into two teams. Rose, Finn, R2, and C-3PO go to Coruscant to light that beacon. Rey, Poe, and Chewie go to somewhere that Poe knows can retrieve memories from Rey. For some reason, I didn't get why on that one. But I think one thing that was probably taken after Rise of Skywalker, that not Rise of Skywalker, Last Jedi, that I do agree with, is keeping them together as a group.
hmm
because we didn't get much of that, if any, in the previous two films.
Yeah, it was it was my biggest issue with The Last Jedi because I mean I love that movie, but the only issue I had was separating Finn from Rey because they were connecting and the chemistry was so great in The Force Awakens that I feel like it was a missed opportunity in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, which yeah, that one. It's just weird that they didn't do that. So I kind of like that they actually all team up. It kind of makes, I would imagine, writing scenes difficult when you have to have all of those characters together.
Hmm.
But I at least like that they tried to do it. Kylo leaves Coruscant and destroys Vader's mask because he thought he was weak, because he, gave into the light a little bit.
Hmm.
Leia and Rey get to talk again, which I imagine would be better in an actual script.
Yeah, there's a lot of Leia in here, and I know with her passing, their hands are pretty tied as far as what they can do with her. And
Yeah,
so I can see where this script would have to change a lot of ways in certain scenes, but they could have kept the core of it pretty close. And I feel like it really threw the whole team off track when that happened.
yeah. I mean, what they try to do, I think. So one of the things that people have noticed about, in the original trilogy, how Luke's outfit changes and evolves,
Hmm.
and then same for Anakin in the original trilogy, in the prequel trilogy. Sorry. But then Rey doesn't really have that. She's kind of wearing the same outfit, gets a new one, and then goes back to the old one because they had to cover up, old footage that they used.
Yeah.
So
I
they,
actually much prefer hers from The Last Jedi than I do her Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker one.
yeah, I'm trying to remember what those look like now without looking them up. I think so. Well, I like her in those. I like the tan. I think that works with the blue lightsaber.
Yeah, it does
But
look pretty good with it.
the First Order find their rebel base because they brought, a star destroyer to their home planet.
Hmm.
I'm sure they had LoJack on that, right? Space
What if they've got
LoJack.
insurance on that?
Who would they get insurance from?
Oh, there's got to be some kind of space insurance
No,
for in case you get your Star Destroyer stolen.
I mean, yeah, just imagine like you're just flying along and then you get Holdo maneuvered and you're out of a ship. Like, what are you gonna do?
Ooh, that'd be a tough claim to get back if you were Holdo maneuvered. I don't even think you get insurance for accidental hyperspace multi explosion
Yeah, what's that
or
cut? Is that act?
one in a million happening thing.
Yeah, is that under act of God? Is it? Do they have God? They don't say, "Oh my God." Is it under act of the Force? Is that a thing?
I feel like it would be one of those. You know what? It You just had some rotten luck that day.
You just have to kind of bite the bullet and buy a whole new ship.
Yeah, they just have to write it off. No, they won't be able to get anything back for it.
No. Anyway, uh, this is where it gets kind of I bunch up a little bit, but
On a
Finn's
side
team
note, I wonder what the
succeeds,
oh sorry.
but is quickly stopped by the First Order somehow. I didn't have a lot of details, so I just have to go on a lot of it happened, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't know
it
how it happened, but it
like
happened.
I said, it'd be easier if we had the script, but we have to go off of what we're able to have, I guess.
Hmm.
And Bosk, the Trandoshan, I think is the species name, bounty hunter that made an appearance in episode 5 and in some episodes of the Clone Wars, I believe, pops up in the script a lot and is specifically named a lot as a cameo. I
I
think
think
there's not, I don't want to say a lot, but I think there's 3 specific parts in this script where he's named specifically.
I may have put him in, I may not have because I didn't know who that was.
Yeah, I'm looking at the as you're going through your notes, I'm going through the full outline. So I'm
Uh,
catching every time he's in here.
Ray's group is hunted by the Knights of Ren, but reach the planet. I'm glad that the Knights of Ren are still in it. I
Yeah,
it's nice to, it's not always good to Monday morning quarterback it, but I would have done something with the Knights of Ren a lot more, even in what we get in both this and Last Jedi,
See,
Rise of Skywalker.
that was the most baffling thing to me was how they were used in this movie because JJ or in the episode 9 that we got because JJ specifically created them and then they hyped them up in the trailers and everything in the new movie and JJ's directing this one also and yet they still don't really do anything.
No, it's really
But
weird.
Trevorrow, which they don't do a ton,
They
you
do
know,
this basically the same amount.
but they have a little bit more impact in Trevorrow's script. It's almost like Trevorrow did a better version of JJ's own characters than what JJ actually ended up doing.
I don't think J.J. Abrams knew what to actually do with them.
They should
Uh,
have been in The Last Jedi.
well, yeah, that's one of the big things. I was like, that's one of those arguments for The Last Jedi where it's like with that and with Captain Phasma.
That was a big disappointment for me too, that she was not in episode 9. Because I think it was who said it? I can't remember who said it, but they were talking about Phasma is like the I might be wrong on the quote, but it is like the Kenny from South Park. I don't know South Park that well, but where it seems like Phasma's gonna die in each one, but still somehow comes back to life in the next one. And
That
it's
would
just
have
kind of one
been
of those things that you write off and forget about.
that would have been fun, but I meant more of like people criticize The Last Jedi for not having those things, but you can't really criticize a movie for not having stuff, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's one of those hard things where it's like, well, I wanted them in the movie, yeah, but wanting them and having them there is different. Anyway,
And, and it might not have actually worked. So it could have been something they played around with and there just wasn't a natural fit for it. So that's fair.
Kylo Ren goes to that Sith planet and meets Tor Valum and asks if Tor Valum asks if he wants to have power. Valum says that he can suck the life out of people. And I love the idea of a giant space god that trains the Sith. So yeah, I basically imagine it like a Lovecraft monster
Hmm.
that is just out in space doing stuff and is I would have imagined him like so big. Like, okay, do you remember when we got those like leaks of possible aliens that Kylo Ren would meet in the Rise of Skywalker art book?
Yes.
I basically imagined him to be one of those,
Yeah.
which I don't know why it wasn't him other than just backlash to Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, they or Last Jedi.
Yes, thank you.
Um, and there is a very important thing to me that happens in this scene where he's talking to Tor Valum.
Which is
The cave scene where the very reminiscent of the cave scene in Empire with Luke and Vader. But in this
yeah.
case, it's Kylo fighting Vader, which would have been ridiculous.
I have that. That doesn't happen yet. Back with Finn's team, we get actual human stakes and see life under the First Order and actually see fascism in Star Wars. And that's cool. Kylo Ren trains Valum. Kylo Ren is trained by Valum. Jeez, I cannot read. And Kylo Ren confronts Vader and loses. Kylo Plan goes to Mortis, which is just brought up now in my notes, which is
Hmm.
the center of the Force, and he is so angry that he absorbs uh, Valum's life and just leaves. He just leaves him there.
Yeah.
So yes, I did have that.
And Mortis is an interesting choice because the only mention of it that I can think of in canon, not going by books, but like TV and movies, is in the Clone Wars over the course of, I think, a 3 or 4 episode arc, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And it's something that I can see working if done right. And I think it works to an extent in this script but it's such a specific and deep. I don't want to say deep cut, but for people that only watch the movies, it's a deep cut for people to just be on board with and understand what exactly Mortis is without that background that you would have gotten from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I have no idea. I had no idea what it was until it was explained, and I imagine that
Mhm.
would have been similar in the script. Uh, Leia's message goes out across the universe, across the galaxy, but is cut off. And this is where I finally remembered that reading somewhere where they meet all of the defected stormtroopers, just like Finn, and get help. That's just where I remember it happening. I
Yeah,
remember that happened, and I just put it in right there. So it probably happened earlier, which is is a good idea and not a good idea.
uh,
Well,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So, so in so in Rise of Skywalker, it's just magically an entire group, an entire platoon
yeah. That
realizes it.
yeah, that was kind of. I mean, I don't know. It's
I think
we
it
got
works when it's individuals like Finn, and they all kind of just find each other in that kind of way where they all go on the same journey.
yeah. It was something that in the Rise of Skywalker it made sense from Finn's perspective, and it was kind of cool seeing him be able to connect with them. But at the same time, I don't think we got enough understanding of what exactly happened and how they came about being what they are now. And I, I don't know if I know you. There probably wasn't time to really put in more effort into explaining that. So in a certain way, it works for me if I just kind of look past, the deeper reasoning behind how they got there. But at the same time, I've still got my questions about it.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I'm not denying it because they were, trained from birth to be stormtroopers, and some
Hmm.
people just aren't like that.
Yeah,
But anyway, that happens. It's fine, I guess.
it
Back
does.
with
It does make me wonder, real quick. Um, we were talking about Finn and the Force powers.
yeah,
To me, in the Force Awakens, it was his connection to the Force, which I always believed that he had some kind of Force sensitivity, and I thought it would be expanded on, and after the Force Awakens. Obviously, that wasn't entirely the case because it didn't really happen in Last Jedi. You could argue that it maybe happened in the Rise of Skywalker in a certain point, but
yeah, because Last Jedi is him more realizing, because in Force Awakens he doesn't know what he is. He
hmm
just wants to not be where he is, and then
yeah,
he realizes he wants to be with the rebels, and then he is just with the rebels, and I guess wants more, but we don't. He does not get this big Disney ballad of wanting something,
hmm
which would have made the movie even better, by the way, if it just stopped and became a Disney musical for 4 minutes.
have a whole song and dance routine.
Oh, it would have been lovely. What are you talking about? Get out
Well,
of here.
it does make me wonder though that they talk about, or Kathleen Kennedy talks about how they don't intend on doing anything as far as sequels of these sequels go. I guess for the moment,
Yeah.
but from my understanding, if I'm to believe that Finn came to the realization in The Force Awakens due to his Force sensitivity, then to me that is also connected to these other stormtroopers that they find, or former stormtroopers. And I wonder if they're all in some way Force sensitive. But it's not something that we ever get any more information on. But
So,
uh, it, it,
here's a
go
thought
ahead.
I had. Remember in Doctor Sleep where Ian McGregor's like everybody has a little bit of that shining in them,
That would
where
make sense.
they you don't study for a test but you get an A.
Hmm.
All of those defected stormtroopers have a little bit of it, which guides them to each
Yeah,
other.
that
That
would
would
make
have
a lot
been
of sense.
cool.
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, back with the actual plot. Uh, Ray and Poe fight the Knights of Ren and get on razor boats. So there's something that is in Rise of Skywalker, the boats.
Hmm. Which
Wait,
I love that whole part in Rise of Skywalker, from her leaving.
Yeah,
to get on the boat, to her going through the ocean and on the former Death Star.
yeah.
That whole sequence of her being like the visual, I think, of that roaring ocean and the scale of the Death Star being your backdrop also was I love that part of the movie.
Uh, for some reason, when you said that, I thought it was when they're in the desert, and I just love the they can fly now bit. They fly now. Yeah, they fly now. Oh, they fly now.
Yeah, that was fun.
Uh, Ray beats them and gets a vision. She learns somehow to the vision is of her parents, because we're still on that, I guess. Uh, she learns how to get to Mortis, and she sends Poe and Chewie to fight on Coruscant, and the worst bit of this entire movie, where she has to kiss Poe to get her force powers to work and tells them to go. I hate all of that. I hate Rey kissing people.
So I'm mixed on it. Um, I think I don't like it because I always liked her connection with Finn more than her connection with Poe because I never felt like her and Poe were ever that kind of thing. And she doesn't really need to kiss him, but at the same time, um, I like in a certain way, the use of the mind trick here, how Poe is able to resist it because he's not weak-minded and it's his, feelings that are overpowering what she's able to do. But then when she does kiss him, when he's being kissed, it breaks down those walls inside of his mind
It makes him
that
dumb.
yeah,
It makes
basically.
him weak-minded. That
It makes
makes
him weak-minded
sense.
at that. Like I like how that was explained and used, not necessarily with the characters in that situation, but it does
Yeah.
do more with the Force.
No, I
So I'm
get
kind of
it.
mixed on it.
I get it. I just, you know, the one of the, like the there's a couple bits in Rise of Skywalker that I absolutely just it's a movie I love a lot, but I hate them. Rey kissing Ben. I hate it so much. Just Rey
Which
with
it
like Rey feels so like separate from all of them in any kind of romantic way that seeing her with anybody, I'm just kind of like, I just don't buy it. You're not romantic with any of these people.
See, I was with you on him kissing Ben, but I did see something the other day about it wasn't a kiss of love, it was a kiss of thanking him.
Well, I think it's in my editorial, I wrote that was like, no, she kisses it, but I imagine it. See, okay, so how you do this, how you're supposed to shoot this is, it's supposed to be like a CPR thing, right? That's
Hmm.
how you would have done it. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? Because
yeah.
he's breathing life into her, but
Hmm.
it's not really made that way. And
That would have made a lot more sense.
anyway, she kisses people. I don't like it. Rey takes the Knights of Ren ship, and Chewie and Poe take the Falcon. On their way to Mortis, Hux and Kylo Ren talk. Kylo said he was the one who ended the Leia's transmission.
I
Hux, yeah,
Yeah, keep going until you get to the end of that.
okay. Hux says Kylo should use his power Hux says, yeah, Kylo should use his power to intimidate the Resistance, and Kylo's just like, no, kind of like no on
Hmm.
that. Leia tries to convince Lando to help, but Lando declines. And him running a lounge, which he does in on Coruscant, is a pretty good idea.
So I like the use of Lando being approached by her in this
Way better. Yeah.
way
Oh
more than
yeah.
him just showing up. He literally just shows up on this random ass planet before the team gets there,
Okay, now.
even though when she said she was, gonna try to get in contact with people, they were already on their way there. So realistically, they should have gotten there before him, but
Can I?
whatever.
Do you know why it makes sense, Shane? I'll
Why?
tell you why. Billy D. Williams, that's just who he is. They're the same person now. Uh, he's a smooth operator, man, and he was at the galactic version of Burning Man. How could he not already be there?
Now, if it was the younger Lando, you could have just said he can just move fast because he's riding the sound waves of his own music. But
Oh, you know what? They should have gotten Donald Glover to come back and play him.
play an older version of him,
No, just play him, and he's just young. He's always young Lando now, and
and
he was
then
just
and then they
like,
just don't ever explain why he's still
no,
young.
and he was dropping his new song. He was dropping
Oh,
his
and that's
new
why everybody
song.
was there partying.
Exactly, because it's Childish Gambino, and you gotta turn up if it's Childish Gambino.
Oh man, they should
Uh,
have done that. Just have him show up there and no questions asked. He's just young.
oh, wait, it makes sense, because who
Do the
cares?
same thing in the Rise of Skywalker with the Ben and Han scene, but have Alden Ehrenreich come back instead of the old version we saw in Force Awakens. We'll get the young Han too.
That would be hysterical. Rey gets to Mortis, and we get a final act split between Rey and Kylo showdown, an assault on Coruscant, and a space battle. But because it's also playing back to Return of the Jedi.
And the opening battle of Revenge of the Sith over Coruscant,
Yes,
which was a kind of a cool connection there between the two.
yes. I think this one works okay, but the thing I like about Rise of Skywalker is that its surface battle is on a Star Destroyer and not on a planet.
I didn't like that.
See, I like that a lot because you never get to see that. And now the
I mean,
horses thing, that the fact that they just have space horses is pretty dumb.
yeah, I don't like the space horses, but I
Really,
think,
I would think you would love them with your background of horses.
yeah. I mean,
I
they were
mean,
cool, just
it
not
took
in that instance.
it took one lesson for him to ride a horse. I mean, he's got to have force powers, Finn,
I,
because
I
riding a
can
horse is just that easy.
I can say from experience, and from my experience, it's not that easy.
You
And
sure?
if you don't believe me, then just watch the movie Avatar, because as much as I hate that movie, it does very clearly show that you're not going to get on one of those horses and ride it for the first time without falling off.
Yeah, but what if they had force powers? But what if the blue people also had force powers?
The blue people had ponytail to the horse's hair tail tingly thingy powers, and it still didn't work.
You mean they had human organic USB ports?
Yeah, so he should have just automatically downloaded how to ride the horse.
So okay, so Avatar
That would
is
have
the
been way more
Matrix.
realistic.
So Avatar is the Matrix now, where they can just down. Okay, actually that makes a lot of sense. Now hold
So
on, like,
it would make more sense for him to just get on the horse in Avatar, or the whatever it is, and to just automatically know how to do it because of that than it does for Finn to not have that USB port hair ponytail thing and to just get on it and not have a problem. They
yeah, but
should
you
have been
had the
reversed.
yeah, but you had like two lessons, so it's okay. It's fine. Just don't think about it. On Mortis, wait, because we're actually supposed to be doing something here. We're not just talking. Sorry.
Well, back on
Uh,
track.
yeah. Rey gets a vision of her parents leaving her and saying they'll come back. And Kylo gets one where him and Han are at their house in the middle of nowhere. And this is so, we made that joke of young Han coming back. You could actually do this here.
hmm
So you say that as like a joke, but it actually makes sense in this case to bring him back.
I like the whole um, shack or house, whatever, in the woods kind of thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of just makes things feel a lot more personal between those two.
Well, okay, yeah, because it works because I imagine that's just where Han lives. But also, if you see any promotion for the Call of the Wild, it looks like that's just how Harrison Ford
Uh,
lives.
he just never got out of the shack.
Yeah,
Wait, Call of the Wild is his life after he died in Star Wars.
yeah,
It's all just fake.
yeah. Okay. So he didn't die. He's in a simulation with the Avatar aliens with their USB ports.
See, it makes sense because the dog was CGI.
Yeah, it's not real. It's not really there.
Oh man. Okay, we got to get back on track.
Uh, anyway, yeah, they're at the house, and okay, I have a question. So Han tries to get him back on his side, on the good side, and it just cuts to him being killed in Force Awakens.
Mhm.
Uh, do you think that actually happened, or do you think this is just like a vision of what Kylo wanted to happen?
In the Rise of Skywalker,
No, in this script.
I
In the one we got, where he is in the cabin and they have that
Mhm.
conversation, and Han tries to get him to come back. Did
I
that
think
actually
it's
happen?
I think it's a lot like how the scene played out in the Rise of Skywalker that we got. It wasn't that he was a Force ghost or anything like that. It
Yeah.
was my best example of it, which I'm pretty sure I put in my review for it, was anybody that saw Batman vs Superman. There was a scene where Superman climbs up to the top of what is it, Mount Everest, or one of those giant mountains. I think it was Everest,
Yeah.
and he has a conversation with Pa Kent. But it's not like he's still alive or anything. It's him having a conversation with his dad that's out of his own emotion that he can see played out in his head as he's trying to fight with decisions that he's trying to make and come together with realizing what he needs to do in that situation, even though it's not actually a real conversation taking place. Those are
It's
what happened in that movie is almost exactly what happens in the one we got and what I think happens in this script.
it's more of a visualization of characters thinking like in a novel. I'm reading the Outsider book, which we can talk about when we finish this.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, it's Stephen King, so there's lots of paragraphs of just people thinking. Is it
Mm-hmm.
basically that, which just his thought process put in a way we could actually show people?
Yeah,
Is it that?
that's
Okay.
that's how I interpret it. Just because the easiest connection for me is what I saw of Superman or Clark in Batman vs Superman. Because when I
Okay.
saw it in that, it was more of like oh, okay. I mean, I kind of get what they're doing, but because I've seen that, and now that they did it in this movie, it's kind of like, okay, I know what they're doing now because I've already seen it before recently.
Uh, the Battle of Coruscant starts. Do we get more detail on how it begins, or does it just kind of happen?
There was a point early on,
Yeah,
a very important point that I think we skipped over. Yeah, because
probably.
it's up here. This is one of the absolute highlight moments that I can't believe we forgot about.
Yeah.
Chewie is flying an X-wing.
I'm actually wait.
It was up a
Uh,
little bit higher.
I was like, wait, did I get that? No, I did not get that.
Chewie is flying an X-wing.
Yeah, I guess that's cool. Again,
I
that
just I just want to see that.
I guess yeah, I guess I want to see it. Again, not being a Star Wars fan, there's a lot of stuff where I'm just like, yeah, it's fine, I guess.
See, it'd
Uh,
be cooler if he was flying it in the atmosphere, like part of the ground fight,
yeah,
but to where he's too big for the cover to go over it, so he just rips the cover off, so he's flying it like a convertible.
that would actually be that would be cool. Okay, so now there'll just be the scene of Chewie like getting into it, like detailed scene of him getting into it and trying to close it, and it just hits his head,
Yeah,
and
and
he
he can't close it because
yells,
he's too
and he
big.
keeps doing it, and he's like, ah, arr, arr, and he like gets out and like climbs on top and rips it off and throws it,
Yeah, and
and
then
then
he
you
can't
get,
go in space, so he's just gonna stay in the atmosphere and
and then you
fight
get
the
a
ground battle.
then you get a ground shot of like just two random droids like looking at each other, and then looking back at him, and the ship is flying away, where they're just kind
I
of
love
like,
it.
that happened. Uh, oh yeah, and
Or Finn looking up at him and being like, "Can he do that?"
that's yeah, that'd be a very thin line. Rey and Kylo meet at the main temple and argue back and forth. Kylo says that they should join forces as part of the light and the darkness coming together. Rey reveals that Kylo killed his parents. She finds that out in a vision.
Mhm. A lot of
Uh,
visions in this movie
yeah.
or the
I
script.
don't. I don't like that. I don't like Kylo killing her. I don't like any connection to any of this.
Kylo killing her parents age-wise doesn't make sense to me. I've always had an issue with that. Because I always felt like Rey and Kylo weren't too far off as far as their age went.
Yeah, like if I were to put it, I'd put like Rey 32, Kylo 36.
Oh,
Is
I
that
have Rey younger than that. I have Rey at like 18 and or
well,
20-ish, and Kylo
I,
at like
I
26,
guess.
27.
I guess that makes
But
more sense, but I was just thinking in my head those were the ages that came to me.
but the number difference because she was really young in these visions.
Yeah.
And if you look at the age difference between them, I don't know what the exact age difference is, but I feel like at the time of her being taken away, he would have still been training with Luke at least. If not, he wasn't even training with Luke yet.
It would have been I could imagine the most it would be after his uh Luke trying to attack him scene.
Hmm.
Like after that, so he's run away, but he's not fully adult yet and comes back.
Yeah, that's I just don't like how that whole thing in this script works that way. It doesn't I don't even
No.
like how it's not really explained in the actual movie either. They kind of
No.
just brush over it in both of these instances.
Yeah, it's just someone did it. They were killed. It's fine. Her parents are dead. She's Batman now. Uh, Kylo gives, gets hits Rey and scars her in battle. During the Battle of Coruscant, R2-D2 is damaged and doesn't, which does not work in this series because he hasn't gotten a lot to do.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
he's
poor
damaged.
R2. He's been kind of thrown
Yeah,
away in this
and we get and we
trilogy.
get and we get Dio for some reason. I don't know why. I actually do not know why he's in Rise of Skywalker.
The only character in this script that isn't in here that I absolutely love when I see him in The Rise of Skywalker is Babu Freak.
Is he the little guy?
Yes,
Yeah, he needs to be in it. He would have been fun.
he's
But
hilarious.
yes, he is very funny. But Dio, because okay, so you have BB-8, which is already the cutest thing you can make, right?
Hmm.
And then you try to outdo it with Dio, and you don't even get close. Like, come on.
Yeah, I feel like JJ gets hung up on certain things sometimes. Like, ooh, I created BB-8. Now I want to create like a different version of something else, another droid, just for the heck of it.
I think they like the endearing thing of him being like, nope, don't like that, yes, like that.
Hmm.
His like incredibly like earnest, like, no touch, please. I think is like I think it can be endearing, but like other than the plot reason of him being there,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. Actually, I saw his toy, his pop figure in like Target or whatever,
Hmm.
and this was before I got the Fallen Order video game, and I assumed it was the droid from that. It is not.
No, but throughout this script up to a certain point, I can't remember what point it is, Kylo has a droid similar to that. I think they described it to Darth Maul's droid, but it makes me think of the one from Fallen Order, which I don't really know how that would play out, but it is a little different.
Yeah, which I just skipped over because that's not
Yeah.
important to what we're trying to do here. Chewie somehow lands and puts him on his back to help him out. That's cool. That's nice. Chewie's a good guy. Uh, Kylo makes it into the chamber and finds nothing but statues. And amazingly, a fascist who finds out he doesn't get what he wants lashes out. Can you
Mhm.
imagine that? Can you imagine with someone with the emotional maturity of a teenager not getting what he wants and lashing out?
Sounds like Kylo.
I know, right? Luke confronts Kylo about losing, and then Rey comes in and blinds her for herself because she's bleeding from the head too much.
Isn't she?
So she gets
I
like
might.
cut on the head.
I might be wrong, but is she not blind?
Is she not blind? I just assumed that she just got like
because I believe she was. Let me. You go
Oh
ahead.
yeah.
I'm gonna read through it again.
We get a big montage of everyone battling as Luke monologues. Uh, Rey is talking to Kylo and says that the masters were both wrong, and it's okay to both love and hate people, and
Ah,
how she is the light and the darkness. Go.
it says Kylo says, I could have been your teacher, I could have ended your pain. Kylo strikes a blow across Rey's face, leaving a scar from her cheek to her forehead. Rey
Yeah.
screams in pain and falls down the temple stairs. She has been blinded.
Oh, okay.
So she is blind.
Okay. Okay. I
I wasn't for
assume,
sure, but yeah.
I guess I read that more as like a temporary thing.
Hmm.
Like, you know how I think it's like in boxing movies or whatever, where you get that cut right above your eye and the blood just doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's not very clear because it doesn't say that her she's permanent blinded, but it could be just from that. But it is a scar from cheek to forehead that's matching of what Kylo's was that she gave him.
Okay. Anyway, that's why I read it as, so that's
Hmm.
why I said the blindfold thing. She is both the light and the darkness, which is way more literal in The Rise of Skywalker.
And yeah, I
Uh,
won't go into that too
Kylo
much.
Kylo quips that she is no one, and Rey says, in the worst way to phrase this, no one is no one. That's okay. I get what you're saying, but that's not how you say that.
It's a
But
line that somebody else says earlier in the script. I
ah,
don't remember if it was Luke or if it was Poe. One of them, I think, says that, and so it's brought back
sounds
in
like a
this
Poe
case.
line. Sounds like
Yeah.
something Poe would say. He's not very eloquent, dude. Uh, I do not think this arc works as well, but maybe it's better fleshed out when we had the whole script.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is we don't have it word for word, but it's just interpretation. One thing I did want to point on is this movie or the script does have some similarities to Indiana Jones, for example. I know it's a very small point, but I wanted to bring it up because even Robert Meyer Burnett mentions earlier on of the scene with Lando and Leia being similar of Marion, I think an indie meeting in the bar or whatever it was.
Yeah,
But this, what brought my attention this time, actually reading through it, was when, like you were talking about fascist, how Kylo is, he goes into the temple and finds nothing. It's
yeah.
disappointing because it's not what he wants.
Do you
I
know what
feel
it
it.
is? Do you know what it is? It's Kung Fu Panda of all things, right? Where in Kung Fu Panda he has the magic scroll that's just, tinfoil.
Mhm.
That's like, no, you were the secret all along.
Well, it's like he thought there was so much here, but it ended up being not what he expected or wanted at all. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Nazis find the um, Ark of the Covenant, and it ends
Yeah,
up killing and melting them all. So they found what they were looking for, but it turned on them. It wasn't what they thought it was. But I see
that's
that like it's not exactly the same, but I do see a similarity between the two. Um, but you can find that similarity in a lot of different things, of course.
so, oh gosh, I think something very bad happened. Oh no, whew, okay, thank goodness. I did accidentally delete my notes on it, but thankfully it was saved in the recently deleted tab.
Ooh.
So how do I? It's fine. I won't need this after this, right? I won't need to see
No,
this
no, you're
ever
good.
again. Uh, where was I? Okay. In the Battle of Coruscant, Hux sees he's losing and kills himself with the lightsaber he's collected because he thought he was force sensitive.
That kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Again, probably makes more sense in the script, but I like I kind of like him being absolutely like him being a traitor, but only because he hates Kylo Ren so much.
Hmm. Which was in the Rise of Skywalker. That I
Yeah.
wasn't so. I mean, I like it because he's not doing it because he switched. Like you said, he did it because of his hate towards Kylo. But all in all, I'm not a fan of him being the spy or the traitor.
They did clearly after the Last Jedi, they did not know what to do with him.
No. And in this script, I find it very odd that because we were talking about him pulling out a lightsaber, it's specified that it is a purple lightsaber,
Well,
which we don't know for sure, but it automatically makes me think that it has to be Mace Windu's, which is very odd to specify it
I
and
mean,
bring it back.
Mace Windu never saw that thing again. It fell out. It fell out a giant, window on like the highest floor.
In
So he
another
was never.
world, I see him surviving and just being like, "Yo, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna go live my life and pretend like I'm dead."
I'm gonna go fly. That's the second time he would have done that, by the way, because he does that again. Samuel L. Jackson does that again in Winter Soldier. He pretends to die.
Yep.
Uh,
I
so
would believe
okay,
it.
so here's what happens, right? Mace Windu pretends to die, flies, and goes to time travel to end up on Earth,
Mhm.
and becomes an actor, and stars in this little movie called Pulp Fiction, and then becomes a secret spy agent and works with Carol Danvers because he's already seen space stuff before, so this isn't weird for him. And then sees that her ship was called the Avenger and is like, that's a good name. I should use that for my own thing. And then jump to 2008 where he meets Tony Stark, and we know the rest.
And then get to Tony dying and being like, man, I just need to get out of this business. I get almost killed there, get almost killed here. Actually, I turned to dust here. I just can't win.
Okay, so what actually happens, he snaps his fingers and he goes back to Victorian times and is
Oof.
stuck being Dr. Doolittle for the rest of his life. So
Oof.
really, so really, we should be praying for him because he's in the worst spot.
I hope he steps off this train because I am.
Uh, Rey and Kylo fight until Kylo's lightsaber is shattered and injures his hand. And a fun fact about this, by the way,
Hmm.
in uh modern canon, red slash Sith kyber crystals are only red because the soul of the crystal is being tortured the more they use it and
Hmm.
is filled with hate. And I only know that because I watched a review of someone reviewing the Darth Vader comics, and the first
Yep.
arc of that is him getting that lightsaber. So I imagine he's doing something with that, where he's just so angry, it's just kind of like shattering because it's just, a tool that he's using out of anger instead of an actual weapon.
Yeah, and they call it bleeding the crystal too. So it's kind of, I mean, there's a lot more to it, but
Yeah.
that's kind of what I saw to it with it.
Uh, yeah, how using a tool and anger just breaks them faster. Don't I know that? And a bunch of video game controllers that I don't have anymore. Rey uh, is about to end it, and Kylo sucks the life force out of her. Leia fears this changing tide and pleads with him to stop. Kylo relents and gives back some of her energy, and thank God it wasn't through a kiss. Kylo is a shell and does not fade away. And we find out Rey had a last name, and it's Solanas, which is, again, is that anything? Is
Solana,
Solana, is that anything? Should I care about that? Should I have put that in here?
not that I can put my finger on,
Okay. Why did she need to have a last name then?
so that they can carry on, and the next trilogy of trilogies can be the Solana Saga.
Okay. At least it's not as bad. Okay. Well, okay. So, one of the other things I hate about my favorite Star Wars movie is how they keep asking, what is she like? What's her name? But who is she from? Like that very specific, yeah, but what's your last name? You know?
Yeah.
Like they kept doing that in like the worst possible way.
And I like how they kept saying that The Rise of Skywalker was the end of the Skywalker Saga,
Yeah.
but money-wise, eventually in my head, they're going to make a sequel or a sequel trilogy at some point, whether it be 10 years, 15 years, whatever.
Yeah.
If it is a sequel and she's claiming now to be a Skywalker, then the Skywalker Saga continues.
Yeah. I guess. The Battle of Coruscant just keeps on going, and they win, I assume. I don't remember reading anything specifically about it stopping. So, it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Rey lays on that slab that Kylo found had nothing, and she's taken to this astral realm where Master Luke, Yoda, and Obi-Wan say she is the Force as a whole person, where she is both good and evil, and she can stay in this astral plane or go out into the world, and she says she'll go out. And Obi-Wan says she is a Jedi after all, but she's not the last one. R2D, we're almost done. Let me finish this up real
Mm-hmm.
quick. R2D2 is repaired, and Leia puts on the greatest hits of everything that's ever happened to them. And then Leia dies watching old films of her younger self. We end with Rey taking new Jedi to a ranch where Finn is, and who does not get a whole lot to do, I guess, because it's kind of just ends, and
He's just standing there looking like
yeah,
Finn.
yeah. I'm assuming he's like planting turnips or something, and
Oh,
then
poor Finn.
like the ship comes and a bunch of rapscallions come off, and they're like, "Come help me plant these turnips," and they all use their force powers and get it done in like 5 seconds, and he's like, "Geez, my back hurts." And that's it. That's the end of it. We end.
So I know some people that haven't seen the um, Rebels, the animated show, are
Like me.
gonna hear astral plane, and it's not specified entirely if what I'm about to say is what they're talking about in this. But in Rebels, they do introduce something called the world between worlds.
Which I assume it would be.
That's what it, to me, that's what it sounds like. And it was, without getting too far into it, that would be their way of an afterlife in a certain sense. And if they wanted to ever incorporate any kind of time travel. Not to get into that too much, but there's a lot that it would be interesting to have seen it visually in a movie because it is a lot. It's not just this afterlife thing. There's a lot to it that I think would have been really hard to get across to the audience.
Yeah, because that's kind of just dropped on you that, okay, now she's kind of ascending to heaven, and she becomes one with the Force, and the Force is with her, and that's it. Or
And
she
of course,
cannot
the
go to
force
heaven.
is with me.
Yes, that's what, yes, thank you for my good reference that you noticed. So it's really more like she can either go to, okay, so now she's basically Jesus, right?
Hmm.
Where she could have gone to heaven, but then she, was resurrected 3 seconds later instead of 3 days.
Makes sense.
Uh, and so I told you this before we recorded, but I can basically see everything that would become the Rise of Skywalker and feel like they basically casted everyone to make this movie and then had to be like, okay, so we have all these people casted, but we don't like that anymore, so we have to do something else.
The only, yeah, you can very much see where or why Trevorrow still has story credit on this on the movie that we got.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that the only major changes that I can see were changing her to a Palpatine, the role of Leia,
Yeah.
the role of Luke, and the role of Rose.
Yeah,
Other
which
other than that, well, and Tor Valum, I guess. But other than that, this is all pretty much what we ended up getting to a
yeah, it's
certain
like
extent.
it's super close, yeah. I mean, there's still some of it that I do prefer the whole idea of, Rey being tested over and over and over again to choose hate, and she still chooses love
Hmm.
by killing somebody. Okay. It's a clone, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
We found that out later, not in the film, but we found out later that he was a clone the entire time.
Well, I never liked. See, that's the problem. What this script does is it really makes Kylo the new supreme leader, which is what was set up in The Last Jedi.
Yes.
With what happens in The Rise of Skywalker, he becomes insignificant. And it totally takes away from everything that was set up for him in the previous movies. That's just how I went about thinking it when I saw it the two times. He does have his moments in it, and he is redeemed, and he does have his own mission, but he never comes off as being the supreme leader that he should have been and that we see in this script.
Yeah. So what I mean, I like in Duel of the Fates that he does not get redeemed at all. He does not turn good. He does not pass go. He does not cannot collect the $200.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of stuck being the bad guy, which I think works because we haven't had that. But what they're trying to do, I think, what uh Abrams and Chris,
Terrio?
yeah, Terrio, who, why I don't know why they brought him in at all, but where I think
He
they were more,
did Argo, didn't he? In Batman vs Superman.
yes,
Wow, I didn't know I knew that.
and Justice League technically,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
somewhere in there he did it,
In my mind, that doesn't exist.
somewhere in there. You know what? You can tell it's him because I can imagine the guy who would say they fly now would also be the same person who says I just push people and then run away.
True. And it now makes more sense that there's that scene of Kylo with Han that in the actual movie is more similar to the Batman vs Superman scene than this version of it in this script.
Yeah.
So, okay, that does make a lot more sense.
Anyway, I was just gonna say that I think what they're more trying to do, which it doesn't work because, the film, as much as I like it, can tell that was kind of rushed together,
Hmm.
where he is not. So he is Supreme Leader, but instead of being able to rule the galaxy, he more has to now plot to take down his only other foe, which he would see as Palpatine because he has the giant space fleet,
Yeah.
instead of the rebels who he would not see as a threat at all because there's like seven of them the last he saw them.
The only problem with what we got, with like as far as that goes, is it makes sense that he would seek out to destroy Palpatine, but that movie was supposed to be his time to be the villain,
Yeah,
because he wasn't the villain in The Force Awakens. He wasn't the villain in The Last Jedi until the end, after Snoke was killed. But he was supposed to be the villain in The Rise of Skywalker, and that just never came to be for me. He was a villain, but he was never the villain because there was always Palpatine. By the end of it, was the main antagonist.
yeah. Which, I mean, I could kind of see if you wanted to have him redeemed why you would need a secondary villain,
Hmm.
right? Just because if like, well, you want him to show that anybody can change and be good. Why? Well, if that happens in, your second or third act where you need some big battle to still happen. But yeah, it just doesn't work. Well, actually, yeah, it doesn't work with what we got. But I
I
could
feel like
imagine if we like fleshed out what the Knights of Ren actually were to make that giant fight at the end where he fights them all to
Mhm.
actually mean something, right?
Yeah, and see, I'm so torn on what happens to him in The Rise of Skywalker because I don't want him redeemed, but in a way, The Rise of Skywalker gave me moments of him being redeemed that made me want to see him redeemed. but not in the way that they went about doing it in The Rise of Skywalker. So basically, I originally didn't want him to be redeemed. And then I saw a version of him being redeemed that I hated because I didn't really understand their way of going about doing it. But once we saw a version of Kylo that wasn't evil, that was more loose in a certain way, played great by Adam Driver. Like when he's jumping on, like across onto the giant statues,
When we
and he
watch him
hits it
play,
hard, and he goes,
when we watch
"Ow!"
him play a video game,
Yeah, and he goes,
or
"Ow!" Or when he's about to fight the Knights of Ren, and he pulls the lightsaber out behind his back, and then he does the whole shoulder shrug that people are now doing themselves. I mean, there's a version of Kylo, that version, that I would have actually liked to have seen a lot more of because it
yeah,
was a fun version. But
yeah, because you can really like see the Han in him when he does that
oh
stuff.
man, that's why I was eating it up in those scenes.
Yeah, you can really like see all of that Han influence in him in those scenes. But
Hmm.
yeah, the way they get there just doesn't work at
No, and that's the
all.
problem because see, that's why I'm just so torn on it. I didn't want it. I liked it after it happened, but I didn't like how they got there.
I think it's because, like I said earlier, he's such a child. He's so like, he's such a like, a child. He's like got all this power, no one's gonna stop him.
Hmm.
That just, his mom dying or someone being nice to him once doesn't feel like the way you do it,
Hmm.
right? You do it more like he realizes his power might not be enough to actually do something. And he's like, oh, I actually need help to do stuff.
Yep.
Which I could imagine, like, okay, so now I imagine the way you do it is make him and the Knights of Ren the faux bad guys and them having their own plot. And when you flesh that out, the Knights of Ren become the main antagonists by the end of it because of whatever they believe. They're, even more, they're even more like, I can't think of the word now. They're even
Uh,
more dedicated to whatever their
yeah.
cause is
Yep.
that he realizes he doesn't want to do that anymore, and that's how you would do it, right? Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
I'm totally for that. It's
So
just, and I know that the Last Jedi was incredibly mixed. I mean, I did a whole post about how that was the catalyst for the insane toxic fan base that we have right now for Star Wars and why some people are just kind of taking a step back from it to give themselves more of a breather for the next thing to come out before they really want to dive back in there because it is so toxic.
yeah,
But I feel like this movie that we got was a reaction to that toxicity, whereas the script was more of a continuation of what we were supposed to be getting. And to me, it's a shame that the studio was more worried about what the fans thought. And this is, very important because they need to not listen to us a lot of times because they're the ones that know what they're doing.
yeah,
But in this
people
case, they go ahead.
people don't know what they actually want.
Hmm.
They think they know what they want, but they don't know what they actually want.
And that's where they messed up, I think, is they reacted to the fans and gave us a very safe movie with The Rise of Skywalker, but not one that made as much sense.
No, no. So I don't think we could end on a really a better note, right?
Well,
It's
I've got one more thing, and then I
okay.
think the final thing is that I wonder what kind of policy they had on Starkiller Base.
What do you think the insurance policy was on that?
Yeah,
Who?
would it cover like a resistance attack?
Yeah, do you think
Like,
they'd have a resistance attack
I mean,
policy?
well, then that makes me think of the Holdo maneuver
Again,
because
back,
that was
yeah.
technically a resistance attack. So probably, I mean, I don't know. Do you consider that like a fender bender?
Well, okay. So I have lots of questions now. Do they have to? Okay, so if we're gonna go to insurance, do all of the stormtroopers, do they have insurance? Do they have health insurance?
No, no,
What's their 504 plan like? What's it like, what's their, 401ks? Do they have anything like that?
no,
Vision, dental, you think?
no. They don't have any of that. Not until the war ends, which it would never do because they'd have to have their reign. So they're probably promised things that they never get. And they never survive long enough to actually see that they never get it either.
Well, what if someone has like really bad IBS or something or gets the flu? What if they get space flu?
They probably just kill them, to be honest.
You think? You think that yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Probably.
Do you
They
think
probably just have.
okay, but did the clones have this? Do you think the clones
Oh no, the
also
clones. The clones didn't have anything. If they had issues, they just got rid of them. Easy. They threw them off the Camino, whatever you want to call it, into the ocean, and they drowned.
they didn't even give them, they didn't give them anything, you don't think?
No,
No, okay. Now, you know what?
nothing. They're clones. They didn't. The only person they probably gave something to was Jango Fett because he was the original, and then
Okay.
because every one of them is cloned off of him, he's probably the only one that counts.
Yeah, but okay, so if one clone gets IBS, do all of the clones get IBS?
Mm, depends. It
If
it
they
it depends.
if they yeah, because think about it, if the one has to, has to really go in the middle of a fight, is it like spread, do you think, or is it more just like, hold on, guys, I gotta go over to this corner real quick for, the next 20 to 30 minutes. Just keep on, I'll be fine. Or they
See,
just shoot them.
for some reason, I imagine Dunkirk in the very beginning of the movie when the kid's just kind of walking around, but then
And
he
you
finds
just,
like a dune and he just squats and takes a crap right there.
and the guy turns the corner and just watches him and like,
He's just like, yeah. The
hey, you gotta
other
do
guy's
what
like,
you
yeah.
gotta do.
So, I mean, I could see it like that, but really, Starkiller Base, like, does it is it considered a? I mean, I guess it's a resistance attack, but it's also, I don't know. I don't know
Is
what
it
you would
home or
consider that.
is it home or is it office? Is it home or is
Ooh,
it work?
I think it's homeowners insurance.
Okay. What about rent? You don't
Well,
think
no,
they're
because
renting?
they don't live. Well, they do kind of live there.
You have to have all those spaces for people to live, right? Like it's a base after all.
I wonder if they owed,
Oh
if
my
they owed
God.
the builders.
Oh my God, imagine having to pay for a giant Star Killer base and they're blowing up, like an hour later and you're like, I just invested $50 billion, 50 space $1 billion into this.
Oh, the first order would be bankrupt,
Absolutely. Okay, so how would they
but it's all fake money, so it's like the U.S. So
it's a
my
sp-
next question is, are they in because the U.S. is like trillions in fake money. So are
is
they
there
in
space
more debt
China?
now?
Is there space China that has all of the debt?
Yeah, it's the the Nemodians from the prequel movies, the
All of
ones
those
that
guys?
yes, with the big eyes that
They're
are
the space
very racist.
Chinese? Oh my God, that actually makes too much sense. And then they're gonna come and collect, and
Because
then
don't they run like the Trade Federation?
they do. Oh my
So they
gosh.
are
So, okay, so here's what would actually happen in the ninth movie, right? Okay. They come to Kylo Ren and are like, here, look at all of these bills you still owe us. We are in charge now. And they become supreme leader.
they would because they would call in their claim, just like China could call in their claim at any time.
And they'd be like, go ahead, Kylo Ren, kill us with your space magic. But you know what? We're just gonna
Which
send more people to come and ask for money. Like,
it makes sense that they would side with the First Order because if the First Order wins and defeats the Resistance, there's no enemy for the First Order, so they can call their claim after the war. But if the Resistance wins, they can't call their claim on the First Order. because now the resistance is going to bring in the Republic, and they're just going to be like, hey, we don't owe you guys any money.
I know, because that wasn't us, right? That was the bad guys who did that.
True, that's why they would side with the First Order. Huh.
Okay, so I'm glad we have figured out the very detailed economic and insurance policies of space people for children, of a space show for kids.
So wait,
Yeah?
did Palpatine have a life insurance policy?
Does it count if you have clones?
Wait. So basically, him wanting Rey to become the new emperor or empress
Is that so he
is
can
actually him handing over his life insurance policy.
Oh, okay, so Ray really should have not killed him and taken that life insurance policy because it's gotta be okay, because he's gotta be worth like trillions, right? To pay off the Star Killer base. Oh,
Wow.
we nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Well, unfortunately for Ben, Han didn't have anything except for the Falcon, which is a rundown piece of junk. Leia didn't have anything. She was just kind of went wherever, and the Republic was destroyed.
On
And
her, I mean,
Luke
think
had an
about it.
island.
All of her stuff was still in her home. All of her, space boy band posters were still in her castle on Alderaan when it blew up.
Yeah.
All of her space 8 tracks of space Beatles is just lost to the wind now.
No, it's not Space Beatles. It's all of her Lando tracks,
Uh,
aka childish space Beano.
this is, you know what? We're on the beach right now. Remember, the fiction here is that we're on the beach and we're getting sunburned as we continue to do this.
Well, hey, we're getting sunburned on a beach that happens to be on an island that was Luke's, that Ben inherited when Luke died because it's the only thing that any of his family actually had to their name other than the Falcon.
You cannot see my face right now, but if you just imagine everybody face palming simultaneously, that's basically what I did.
I took it down a long, dark path.
Because here at Tower City Media, we might be an island in this vast sea that is the net that you are surfing. Welcome to 1998. Hello, by the way, hello. But we are really glad that you came up to this beach and hope you'll stop by for other wonderful podcasts you might enjoy that are coming out that I don't want to say before we commit to them.
Yeah,
So, but
we've got a lot of good things coming out.
we have stuff in the works, and if you like this, stay around, stick around even. Not on the beach though. It's gonna get cold. You know what? We're actually recording this at night, so really it's gonna get cold, right? It's gonna get cold and windy.
Well, if we were on the beach right now in real life and it were nighttime at this point, and we were on vacation on the beach, we would probably be really drunk and wouldn't be able to record. So,
Space Jaws is about to come on land and is gonna eat you. It's just a whole thing. Just go home, or if you're at home, stay at home. Or if you're, you know what? I don't know what's up with you. Just have a good day, or don't. I'm not your boss, but I'd like you to have a good day, right?
and hopefully you enjoyed the podcast.
Most of all, like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, please. Just do all of them. We have a Twitter, which is what?
At Tower City Media. And if you want to send in any comments, questions, or anything, any kind of topic that you'd like us to talk about, you can always shoot us an email at towercitymedia@gmail.com.
Yeah, so any comments, questions, concerns, homemade recipes. I'm looking for a good quiche recipe.
I like cookies.
Cookies are also good. If you have any good cookie recipes, please send that in as well. So
I need some cookies.
you need a cookie right now?
Yep.
Well, let's get off this beach and go get a cookie.
Alrighty, until next time.